Priscilla Dungy Houston inside. J.A. Rogers inside. Francis Quest Wilson inside. Asa Gillian inside. Amos Wilson inside. Bobby Wright inside. Gilly Fuller inside. Kobe Campbell inside. Nana IJ Koto inside. Nana Hannibal Afrique inside. Nana Nzinga inside. Nana Ya Insantua inside. Nana Hannibal Carthage inside. Ada B. Wells inside. Rosa Parks inside. Sir Journal inside. Fannie Lou inside. Mary McLeod inside. Aaron Milton, Harry Tubman inside. Omar Wiley, Malcolm X inside. Marcus Garvey inside. Jose Tutu inside. Jack Ditcher inside. John Mitchell inside. Nat Turner, Dimbox Bessie, Gail Placer, and again to all the Africans who fought and resisted. And we say Madasi to all of the Africans that survived the dungeons, the coffin lines, of lying and standing in their own piss, shit, and vomit. In Cape Coast, in Elmina, in Senegal, to the dungeons in all along the Gold Coast, the Gulf of Guinea, in Nigeria, in Dahomey, in Benin, all the Africans that survived the 3-month voyage and the middle passages of the malaria, the yellow fever, the small being ravaged by smallpox from the Europeans, the Africans that lost their minds on the bottom of those ships, the Africans that resisted by throwing themselves overboard, by breaking the chains and taking control of the ships, the Africans that were marched down at the Manchester slave docks here in Richmond, that were sold, that were raped, that were burned, that were boiled, that were beheaded, that were eviscerated, that were tarred and feathered, that were lynched, of the babies that were torn from their mothers' wombs by the Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, the brothers that were torn apart by horses, that were buck broken, that had the buck fight, the Africans that did not know what they had to do on these slave plantations, the breeding farms that existed all throughout Richmond and the state of Virginia, for all of the heart diseases, the hypertensions, the anxieties, the pedophilias, all of those aberrant behaviors that have come from white supremacy. We say Madasi for surviving. We say Madasi for giving us here the AbusuaPa, the vision and the resources to create the MaafaKebuka on our 7-year installment. And we ask that you allow us to give us the tools to be able to heal all of these wounds that we just mentioned in this empire, and all of those intergenerational forms of bondage that have compromised our mental, physical, and spiritual health. We say Madasi to the names that we know and the names that we don't know. For all the Africans that could not speak for themselves, we are here to speak for you. We're here to represent you. And most importantly, we're here to heal you. We say Madasi again for all these things. And finally, we say Madasi to all of our great ancestors on this side of the water that paved the way for us. Specifically, our king, our chief, Nana IJ Akoto, and our senior chief, Nana Hannibal Afrique, for all of their hard work, for the work that they did to bring us clarity. And we have embraced Sankofa, and we will do whatever needs to be done to be able to bring traditional African culture back to its most complete, its most uncompromised, its most unadulterated form. We say Madasi, 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 Madasi Bio.
Madasi Bio. Ashe.
Oh! That's not enough.
All right. All right, Machi, Edison.
Get.
It's good to see everybody this morning. And the Shrine say this morning that, you know, the work is going to continue. And we're going to have difficult days ahead, but we continue to do the work. And we, as was said earlier, we take control over every aspect of our lives. How we speak, how we talk, how we act, and most importantly, how we resist. That the resistance movement is alive and well. It hasn't gone anywhere. And it will morph and it will change based upon the outside realities that we as African people are dealing with. So no matter what we do, and no matter where we are, we continue to resist. They have our fronts, our back, and our sides. And all we have to do is be intentional about bringing the culture back to, again, its most complete, its most uncompromised, and its most unadulterated form. Our culture is going to save us, it's going to heal us, and it is going to allow us to reconnect back to that ancient source of power as we reestablish the ancient order. Madasi, Madasi, Nana, Madasi, Madasi, Madasi. So I think one of the things we want to do, I guess, as we get started, this would have been this is our 7th year installment. And we thought it was necessary for us to move forward and continue to do the work of MaafaKebuka. And with that being said, we're here this morning, and we're going to have a conversation on a greater dialogue on ancestral healing and restoring the African personality in the Americas. And we want this to be an interactive activity. Want everybody to chime in and say, I guess, just where they are with those things that we just talked about. But we also want to have a conversation as well to talk about ancestral healing in our own personal space. And one of the things that we have done with the MaafaKebuka, we've been very intentional about dealing with all the Africans that resisted, and specifically the Africans that were brought here in Richmond trying to bring some sense in order to what they had to go through. But we also got to acknowledge those real hurts, those pains in our family, and being very proactive of dealing with those wounded ancestors in our own lineages and our own clans. And the shrines have been very outspoken as of late with talking about that. And in some cases, people, I've heard other Black folks say that they don't call out certain names of the ancestors because they may have had chaotic lives. Have any of y'all heard that before, people saying that?
Yep.
Or they may have caused a lot of problems. But the message that came through this past weekend was that we essentially can't blame them for anything that they have done. Based off of what white supremacy and domination has done to us, and how all of those particular wounds have touched us to our very core. And there has not been any open acknowledgement of that or any formalized system of healing that we have done to heal those wounds, as well as make sense of white supremacy and domination. And the Shrines also said on Monday that we don't call those names, but we call the oppressors' names out every day. By the streets we live on, by the currency that we handle in our pockets, by the schools that we go to, or formalized institutions that are named after the white supremacists. So we call their names out, but we don't call our own ancestors' names out. So do you understand the context? And so as we're getting deeper into this here in Richmond, we're going to set up a formalized process through the Shrines of us calling those particular ancestors out that have had those issues. I know there were a number of those in my family. And we're going to give them a context of just what they were dealing with on this side of the water.
They're going to make it right.
We're going to heal them in that process of acknowledging those open wounds. And then as we heal them, then they in turn are going to heal us. And then we'll move from that family member to the next family member, to the next one, and then we're doing a truly ancestral-based healing phenomenon here in Richmond with our AbusuaPa. And we're gonna be using the Shrines, and Nana Sankofa has a whole ancestral side. I'll be developing a whole masquerade for that. And I'll talk about that at the very end of the discussion. And we're going to build that piece in. And then we also have Sister Kimmy here, who's one of the founders of MaafaKebuka. She's on the Yoruba expression. And then we're going to bring the Egungun in, all those formalized structures from these other systems to help make this thing stronger and more powerful. And it's crucial and it's vital for us here in Richmond to be about that business, because we got thousands of our ancestors who are still being turmoil and torment from all those wounds, and we got to be able to heal them so that we can truly move forward as a people. And then as we doing that, and we're going to talk about, we're going to have another presentation, me and Kweku are going to lead off, but we'll be restoring again the African personality, African self-extension orientation, African self-consciousness. And we're going to talk about that in a separate presentation. But these are things that we're going to be doing. And it's incumbent upon us to do that work. If we're going to heal, those anxieties, the depressions, the hypertension, diabetes, it's got to be done from an ancestral perspective. So I just want to lay it out there before we get into a deeper discussion. So how are y'all feeling that? Does that resonate? Does it make any sense to you?
I'm all for it. Mo.
Me too. It makes perfect sense. It does. I'm grateful for that.
An interesting part is an alignment. My mother and I were talking yesterday about ancestors, who to speak about and who don't speak about, and protocols and things like that. So I just see this as a reinforcement of what we just was talking about, right, Mom? Oh, yeah. My mom and sister are with us right now too.
And this year has been a very personal one for me, dealing with some of my own family issues. But I guess I can deal with that when we're talking about the assignment that we're going to do a little bit later on. But when we take a look at our ancestry, that's the key. That's the key to us really overturning white supremacy. And when we're able to really tap into that, and we tap into that ancestral DNA, it gives you a different level of cognition, a different level of power when it comes to the spirit world. And then we are able to now tap into an ancestral source that can guide us through any issue, any problem that we may encounter, because they've already dealt with all of this stuff. So there's literally there's no recreating the wheel. And all of those things that they were able to do, back in ancient times, is still there for us to do once we heal this major nexus point of us coming through the Maafa. Once we're able to heal those wounds, then the ancestral connection going back to Kush, Nubia, back to the great empires, all that information will be a free-flowing process for us. And so the whole time continuum means nothing to us. The universal order of us being able to communicate with ancestors that may be 4 or 5 or 6,000 years of age is not a discussion. We're not figuring out how we're going to do it. We're doing it. And we've gotten rid of, it's like the shrines are saying right now, it's like the analogy is like a blocked artery. So the blood is not able to freely go through because of all of the plaque and the junk that's inside. So now the ancestral work that we're going to be doing is now going to move that plaque away from that came from the trauma. So now there's going to be a free-flowing process in the ancestral world of where we are now. Does that make sense? And maybe it's a blessing that as I don't know if we would have had this discussion if we had the larger MaafaKebuka. So this, what this is doing today is now giving us a more deeper and more personal construct for ancestral healing. And all of us here that's participating in this conversation will be a part of that process. All right, so with that being said, want to talk about just and get some feedback over the last few years of us doing this. And I guess what has stood out in your mind with MaafaKebuka from the first year installment to just where we are right now. And how has that helped you in your own individual growth with your family, with the collective work that we're doing? Just some of the highlights and just where we are with that.
So Ursula here. Go ahead, Baba. Kendra, you were speaking? Okay. So I was just saying that even before I kind of became a part of the AbusuaPa, I was coming to MaafaKebuka. And I remember telling myself then, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is who I am. And I remembered like the different parts of my life that I was in, still being in school, just graduating, being just a lot of things that were going on in my life. And I remember that every time MaafaKebuka came around and I'm participating, it was kind of like a reset for me. And like a reset and I always say kind of like a reassurance that I was on the right path, because how it made me not only feel physically, but how it made me feel spiritually fulfilled and kind of confident in myself and pushing that forward. And even now in participating and being a part of it, that has only heightened and been more emphasized every year. I think it brings about parts of me that I kind of hide a lot. And during my MaafaKebuka, and even during the process, and with you guys, it's like, nah, you can't hide nothing. Like, it's there, you know, it's going to come out. It also kind of explains certain things for me that when you on your path and when you've been, like you said, and then trying to say, when you've been called to be that person in your family to bridge that gap and to start that healing process and things, it is not easy. And I think the life that I had growing up of always kind of being the weird one or the one that felt like outside, it helped during this process. Like, it's crazy how growing up like that made this entire process and this journey and path to ancestral veneration and just a journey in Sankofa, you know. And I could see, you know, when I walk into my mom's home now, and I walk into some of my friends' homes, and I see altars and spaces and, you know, things, or when we're out to eat and they understand why I'm putting the plate to a side or certain things, like that right there is enough for me to say, you know, I don't need it because it's for me, but it's also one of those things that, all right, you know, when you've been called, you just got to walk that walk.
Right. Fantastic.
Okay, this is Kimmy. I think with the MaafaKebuka, the thing about it is, you know, people are always so excited and amped to say, you know, I could deal with this Orisha and that Orisha, and I know how to do the things for the Orisha. And then it's just a reminder of, okay, the biggest thing is, you know, doing this ancestor work. Because while, you know, we're working and we're trying to make things better for our descendants and, you know, the people that's coming after us, we do still have that responsibility to go back and heal, you know, those other people who did not have the opportunities that we have to have access to spirituality. And at the same time, we also know that we are dealing with ourselves. Just like Sister Ursula says, you know, that's the hardest thing to do. The hardest thing, oh my goodness. Oh, the hardest thing to do is to deal with ourselves. But at the end, we need to do it. And I'm just thinking about it when you said dealing about our families. My husband and I talk about all the time. Like, we have family members not speaking to each other. I'm like, I don't understand that. You know, that whole concept of you not speaking to this one or that one. And I understand it's because we do need to go back and deal with those things that have broken up our family. So the MaafaKebuka has been a reminder to, okay, you know, when this date rolls around, you know, this is when my grandma passed, we're going to bake a cake. You know, me and my cousins across the United States, we're posting a picture of my grandma, we're cooking. And like, those things are needed so that my children understand who my grandmother was and how she brought the community together. Because those, you know, older generation, no matter what, they knew how to bring the community together. And it's important to go back to all of those aspects that kept us strong in the midst of chaos. Like you said, this is not our first rodeo, but they knew how to get to that. So the MaafaKebuka has been that reminder of, okay, you know, you can say this prayer, offer this food, do this, that, ball, but your family, your ancestors, the blood and bones that run through you needs to be uplifted and dealt with so you can empower yourself. So the MaafaKebuka has been a great reminder of that and has, you know, gotten us to be more active into, okay, let's deal with this ancestor in our lineage.
Okay, fantastic. Okay.
And Sister Kimmy, I want to piggyback off of that too, like what you were saying. You know, one of the things I notice is every year, like even since I was a child, trying to get information, it never was going to happen. Like, you get bits and pieces and stories, and I feel like every year, like, the piece to the puzzle just keeps going. You know, like I just last year right before my birthday, I learned about an entire side of the family that I've been asking about for literally 30 years, about 20 some years, and never got any information. And I just took it upon myself to go see them, meet them, and and it was instant. And also we were talking about how behaviors of our ancestor, we always talk about the physical aspects and you got this energy, but no one talks about those behaviors that we all have in our family. You don't know why they come from, like us with knives, like why I like knives so much. And just hearing those stories now that I think people know in your family where you are and what you're about. Now they open to talking now, having those crucial conversations that, before they just wouldn't talk about. They don't want to tell you who is your uncle or your cousin or why this is this and this, that, and the other. And you get to a certain point in standing firm in who you are and what you are. Like, no, we need to know this stuff, even down to the point of mental health in our family and drug abuse and alcohol abuse and, just criminal behavior, like that. Those things are very important.
Mm-hmm.
They are. And one time I gave my children, before they had graduated, they were doing a family chart. And when they went to their dad's side of the family to ask, it was like they had hit a sore spot. Nobody wanted to tell them this connection. So my boys, that side of the chart was real empty. No one wanted to talk about it. And it was like painful for us because we acknowledged this. It was so painful. They just had the chart empty and there was nothing that they can do about it.
Wow.
So there's some healing. And a matter of fact, when I did my roots reading, was one of the most amazing things in the world to figure out that my ancestors were rippers and runners.
Mm-hmm.
And so just going back and making that connection is just so powerful and it's much needed. So I'm grateful for the vision and the passion to do that because it's needed.
Yeah. It brings us back, like you said, brings us back to ourselves, like who we really are and what you really made of. Like,
right.
People are like, why are you so calm about this stuff? Like, listen, do you know who I come from? Do you know where I come from and what they've been through? Nah, we good.
Culture. I one of the things that sticks out for me in the MaafaKebuka, and greetings, Machamo, to everybody, because I've been running it out.
Yo.
Is hello, Quasi Bean. Is how ready the ancestors are for us to invite them in spaces, to be present with us, especially when it comes to the children. When the children are doing the reflections every year, when we were reflecting on the enslavement of our ancestors, and we were focusing on the liberation, all of those things, and how not just the fact that the ancestors are always present, but how ready they are to make themselves heard,
right.
For us to be receptive, for us to be able to carry forward the work that is necessary, and how the Bosom support that. So that has been, support and facilitate that. That has been a very big blessing to me. And then even, the connections between the MaafaKebuka training, and the other fasces and all those things, how those things make themselves manifest in our house, in the things that, Kemi and Ursula were just mentioning, how in all of those spaces where we venerate them and honor them, how they continue to open ways for us to learn more about them, to learn more about ourselves. So that has been wonderful.
Right. Well, I guess I just want to say, one of the things that I know has done for me, it has given me like a different relationship with my family ancestors, and which is becoming even more close over the last 6-7 years. And I'm being like even more intentional about calling their names out, even some of the ones I've had some issues with, and really trying to just deal with that whole healing piece. And if I had not been really dealing with the ancestral dynamic, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now. Because as a shrine worker, I deal with the Bosom and the dwarfs. I'm primarily a dwarf shrine worker. and the Dwarfs are a lot different than ancestors. So what this is giving me another tool, as well as another way of just really making sense of just who I am, with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and getting to a point where I can embrace everyone that is in my lineage that had a part of me being growing up over on the south side of Richmond. I was a part of a large family, still am. But some things weren't pleasant, depending on who you were around, what was going on. But I have a different level of understanding that now than what I did going in year one, as well as having a different context of just how powerful white supremacy is, and just really trying to get a better handle of how that thing has messed our people up. And when you look at it, it's so complex. Those wounds run so deep that I don't even know if there's a word or words you really can use to fully describe what has happened. And we say to Maafa, but can we really describe all of that torment that took place on the daily process for our people here in North and Central South America and the Caribbean? So it's given me a different historical context than I had before, because what happened goes beyond intellectualizing. You know, it's a feeling that we can't fully describe. And it also has happened that has brought us closer together. And we're going to continue to get closer as we continue to move this thing, forward. So I'm just very humbled just to be a part of the group, and watching everybody evolve and grow in their own personal and family space, and just looking forward to what the future is going to bring. And lastly, I think one of the most important, I'm happy we went back to the roots of the MaafaKebuka. Those ritual dramatizations really has brought everything home for me. We started out with that year one, and last year, when Iman put that thing down, I mean that thing just shook me up, and I'm still months later still trying to process all of that, and I still haven't been able to find a place for it yet because it was so powerful. I didn't know. I wanted to cry, I wanted to run, but I also wanted to see how the thing was going to play out. So I'm still dealing with all that stuff now, months later. So I'm just grateful really to all of y'all, and we're going to continue to make some of this thing.
Yebo, yebo.
Mo.
Paucho, so I could chime in real quick, because a lot going on in the background here. What has reassessing the MaafaKebuka? I might have mentioned this before, and I'm gonna try to stay focused because I could be all over the place. That activity needed to happen here. I remember reading Nana Cambone, Kobe Cambone's work years ago about there were like 6 steps of strategies of intervention and prevention that we needed to put in place.
Right.
To really get to a point of healing. I think Kwame alluded to it, brought us together. So when we're talking about coming together, Nana Cambone talked about the varying degrees of cultural misorientation, because we all have been impacted by it. Some of us severely, some of us mildly, some of us moderately.
Right.
And I like to think that those of us that are here together today have not been so severely impacted by it, because we are coming together to help heal the ancestors, and we are answering the call. It's very different answering the call than being recruited into something. And that activity needed to happen here. I remember talking to my wife years ago. You know, we were trying to do something called Umoja Temple. You know, we're bringing the different people, families together that practice some type of tradition, that had some sense of, or been politicized in Pan-Africanism and understood that to some degree. They understood that spirit was primacy. So the study groups and all that is cool, but a lot of times what was coming out of the study and what was coming out of the intellectual piece was atheism. There were people actually studying and intellectualizing so much that they wasn't dealing with the spiritual piece. They were rejecting the spiritual piece. Therefore, distracting you know, we being almost repulsed by the centerpiece of what makes us African, and that's that spiritual wholeness, being connected to the cosmos, nature, and to each other. So when we talk about answering a call, when we come together, you're not just bringing your physical body.
Right.
We understand we are bringing our ancestors. So Kwabena is bringing his story and his ancestors and that energy. Mama Ya is bringing, Mama Noah is bringing, Baba Kwaku, Kemi, Ursula, Ben, all of us, we are bringing, because we have answered the call. So we think we brought ourselves together. The ancestors needed us to come together, I think.
Right.
Right?
More.
Because I always felt leaving Richmond, going to other places and feeling like, man, there's a different energy when I go somewhere else, because this type of spiritual collectivism was taking place in other places, where here, I think prior to the MaafaKebuka, we was all doing our little thing in our little pockets. You know, you got your little thing over there that you doing in your house, but you ain't connected with no other families. Ursula said she came to here and she said, yo, here's that group that helped her, right? Mm-hmm. So we are helping each other by coming together. But I think we can also continue to grow by being more intentional about the collectivism. That's what AbusuaPa is the collective of families that come together with a purpose, steel sharpens steel, you know? So right. I think that if we, you know, continue to be intentional, like today, we could have let this time pass by. We know that today was supposed to be the day of the 7th installment. So next year, people will say, oh, well, y'all didn't have it. Oh, yeah, we did have it this year. It still took place. The communication was still happening. The empire was still poured, and the ancestors were still brought together by us convening today. So right. For me, I think I can, you know, speak for the whole family. The MaafaKebuka has been kind of just that reaffirmation that we're going to get there. The MaafaKebuka has put us on a pathway.
Sorry.
Nana Ajay has, I know the last few times when I go to our home and Nana Ajay, he always said, so what y'all got going on in Richmond? Y'all building that AbusuaPa? Y'all building that organization? I'm like, why you can't ask me about that? You know, just ask me about that for a reason. What y'all doing? Because they always stress is you don't have to replicate this. Y'all need to do your nation building work, therefore meaning your familyhood and development work where you are with the energy and the ancestors and the spiritual culture terrain in your locality. I feel like we're answering that call. And I think that Nana Ajay would be proud of us and continue to be proud of us, but we can't waver, and we have to stay the course. And in order to stay the course, we have to cultivate what we planted. Those seeds that we planted back in 2014, we have to keep it going. We have to be intentional about it. That's the only way we're going to really see through the mission, right? So I'm thankful for everybody that is gathered, but the work is not done. I think I say Madasi to Nana Kwabena for really being that visionary, right? It was more than, you know, I'm pretty sure he saw a lot of stuff doing his social work. You've heard a lot of messages at the shrine. He read a lot of books. You know, we've all studied, but we have to get to a point, and we are getting to a point where we take the studying into a daily practical means of creating infrastructure and reconstructing and restoring the Africanity that makes us who we are. So, Madasi.
Mo, you're not that.
Jumbo, everybody.
See Jumbo.
Jumbo.
One of the things that in looking at the work of ancestor healing, I started not to say anything, but I recently lost both of my brothers. And this is the first time that I ever did a 40-day rite. And it was just such a beautiful experience, you know, to have my children. You know, one of my brothers was a stepper. I don't know how many of you all are familiar with that, but in Chicago, there's this group of people who do this little dance they call stepping. You know, everywhere is different. But my brother was a well-known stepper, and he was on TV and everything. And, you know, when we did our 40-day, you know, we were up here just stepping, you know, and I just knew that he was looking down upon us, you know, just kind of laughing and elated. But it's that whole thing of ancestor healing that I think that has helped me. Whereas before he had challenges, you know, when he was on this side, a lot of challenges. And it's those challenges that took him out. And I just feel like every time I pour libation, I'm healing him. You know, and I have forgiven him for all the things that we experienced. And I think that that has helped to heal him and heal me, you know, and our family. So when I talked to my mom about him, you know, I told her yesterday, I said, every time I think about him, I have these good feelings. You know, I feel, and my other brother too, but especially my youngest brother, he had a great deal of challenge. And she was talking about her Mother's Day, you know, how she had just lost both her sons. And she talked about the fact that, you know, the good feeling that I have when I think about them. So I'm continuing to pour libation, you know, to heal them so that they can in turn help and heal me and my family. So that's one of the things, the ancestral healing part that stood out for me, and that, you know, one of the things that I have never implemented, but, you know, I had the opportunity this recently to do so, and, you know, how rewarding that experience was for me and everybody in the family.
Yeah, Madasi, for sharing that, Mom.
It's powerful, sister. That's powerful.
Sending you hugs filled with everything you need, Mama Noah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just a recognition of us on this side to appreciating the you know, where everybody was when they were on this side. And if we can in ourselves understand the dynamics that impacted their lives while they were on this side, that really is the key to us moving toward healing them, you know, from this side and making them, you know, whole.
Right.
And allowing whatever power and energy they can, you know, utilize to impact life on this side. I think that's, you know, so our greatest benefit is to be able to understand where, you know, forgive and appreciate their limitations and how they were impacted on this side.
Right.
And restoring them, you know, from this side while they're on that side in order to maximize whatever power they can utilize for us on this side in the struggle. You know. And I've had to do that, you know, personally with, you know, like in rethinking, you know, even my my grandfather's kind of, you know, his standing within the family and how he was, you know, really assessed, given his life, during his lifetime, but what probably those conditions of oppression that really impacted him, that led
Right.
him to engage in that, misoriented, severely misoriented kind of behavior. So yeah, so I can, I say, and so that may untap whatever energy, because he had a lot of power, while he was on this side, but may whatever power he has now, that truly I think could release, him, heal him, and we could and heal me and us, on this side,
Right.
you know.
And I don't know who said it, but I heard someone say it, that when we look at our ancestors and all of their challenges, that is just white supremacy, and that is just the confusion that we, are under as well, but they were also under, and
Right.
it's like when we are healing them, we are restoring them to their original, African selves. We're dissipating all of the chaos, the white supremacy misunderstanding, and all of the issues that they had while they were here, and all the issues of criminality and all the things that they may have engaged.
Right.
We're healing all of that so that they in turn can heal us.
Right. That's right. Mo.
So I guess our theme, I guess we as we go through the years of MaafaKebuka, we gotta kind of like make sure that that's that understanding, for everybody who comes across our path, kind of appreciate that's where we are, and that's the process, in part I think of what our message, has to be, as going forward.
Right. It sounds like we gotta probably just add on to the mission statement and all that, a longer narrative and all that. But we can talk about that later. That's some powerful stuff.
Anybody we haven't heard from, one of the thinking process into this was, it's reassessing, so that, we can't really go forward until we look back. So, and Kwabena, he kind of really expressed that we are coming together to form the framework for healing. But it's important to always understand that, if you drowning, you got to put the life preserver on you before you can help, your family.
Right.
So he was talking specific about us in this room, our families, making sure that we are acknowledging and engaging in some form or format of ancestry healing, so that we can do the work and we be healthy enough to do the work. So, we just like to hear from everyone, so that, we could take note of, how MaafaKebuka is working, how is it impacting you, what we can do to get better, to improve. So, it'd be good that we hear from everyone, because we're taking notes of all of this.
Yeah, peace everybody. I think that, just listening across the board and, just reflecting on my own experience. I remember when we first sat down and even talked about, forming it before we had a title, before we had clarity about what we were even talking about doing. The thing that stood out for me from the onset was that what we wanted to do was to create a space in order to be able to include, if you will, I'll just paraphrase it in my own words, putting the spiritual component in the forefront of our revolutionary work. That was a really unclear concept for me at the time, and I can say that over time I have been developing not only just an understanding, but a baseline for the experience in and of itself, what that really looks like in a collective sense, particularly as you all have kind of already, everyone in certain ways kind of alluded to how we've brought our collective families together in that process,
Right.
and what that means, of course, in terms of our work individually, based on our own, legacy and ancestors, and then how that, if you will, what that looks like, excuse me, in a collective sense. And so, it's been a learning process. It's an ongoing learning process for me. I probably still peg myself as being on the side of, it is not a skepticism. It is not doubt. It's not uh, a lack of surety, but it's a particular way of analysis that I have of everything. And what we have been doing with MaafaKebuka is no exception. And so I'm probably pegging myself to be one of the few people who asks more questions and does process things a bit more intellectually than everyone else perhaps is acculturated into to doing. And I don't know, I think that's okay personally, but I feel like what I have been able to see and what I've been able to experience, I've been able to grow from, and I've been able to develop more personal insight, if you will, in terms of, like I said, just what the whole process of incorporating this spiritual component, or putting it in the forefront, excuse me, of our revolutionary work actually means. I know prior to this process, one of my, I guess for lack of a better term, things that I kind of felt strong about was, well, it doesn't really matter much about what people believe and or adhere to, in terms of their own personal spiritual beliefs or what have you. That should not be a contradiction to us doing revolutionary work. You can, but I was looking at that from a perspective at the time, at least, before, as we started the MaafaKebuka, I was looking at that from a perspective of, I guess I'll say everything outside, inclusive of everything outside of traditional African culture as a whole. It was, you don't have to negate the person who's Baptist. You don't have to negate the person who's whatever you want to call it, Muslim, and all these other wonderful things that whatever it is people do. And it wasn't until we started doing this work, and I guess somewhere in the middle of our years of having carried out the conference, that something for me really kind of clicked in the context of, not emphasizing trying to take the time to deconstruct other people's beliefs and ideas, but focusing that energy more so on, well, what does it mean then to go back to tradition for me? What does it mean to look at the ways of old, if you will, and how those things apply for me? I feel like I spend more time on most things in analysis. I spend more time deconstructing so that I can, at least from my perspective, gain clarity. And I think that with this process, what it has added to my toolbox, if you will, is a way or a sense of connection in terms of how else to be able to experience and be a part, if you will, of that. I'm going to use the word universal connection, in terms of the ancestral legacy, and not have to do it from a perspective of deconstructing the impact of white supremacy, on our culture, if that makes any sense. I could explain it in more depth, but I don't want to. I feel like I've already talked long enough. But rather than me deconstructing everything that white supremacy did and Arab imperialism did in terms of making Islam wrong, what do we do? You know, what do I do to emphasize and support what contributions our ancestors made in terms of even its development to make it right, if that makes sense. What do we do in the context of obviously the traditions that many of the families that are part of, you know, our AbusuaPa and and those that we're affiliated with, what do we do to ensure that we continue those lines, or we continue that work, so to speak, along those traditions? What do we do to not ostracize ourselves and to alienate our families who are still Christian, who are still whatever they are, while we're alongside the work that we do, without having to again put that emphasis on the deconstruction of what they're doing and where things may be wrong. I hope that makes some sort of semblance of sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But that's where I am, you know, with it all at the present time. I feel like, you know, we've been able to remained consistent with the fact that we have talked about, you know, doing this all from a Pan-Africanist, nationalist, if you will, perspective, one that's clear about, you know, really raising levels of consciousness for our people in a way that doesn't keep, you know, that doesn't continue to try to create, or I should say sustain certain divisions, but really focuses on, you know, unanimity in a way that, you know, we can really see a way forward. We can really see a way, you know, towards what I used to often say, inevitable victory, and not just, you know, us doing whatever we do in an isolated context. So I'm grateful for all of that, and I'm thankful for the opportunities to continue to learn, if you will, as we continue to move forward with it all.
All right. Mo. Anyone else?
Anybody else? Ben, Indy, before we move forward. Ty's in here. Anything you want to elaborate on your experience through the MaafaKebuka? Any impact?
Peace family.
Okay, there you go.
Mama Indy. Hey fam. You know, I'm real emotional, so I've been sitting here trying to get my thoughts and words together without the tears. But I'm just grateful for the space that has been created for us. Everyone has said so many things that resonate with my spirit, with the experiences that our family has had since starting to come to the Maafa. I remember the first year that I came, I was sitting there and I really didn't know what to expect. And as the group came in, I think it was maybe the first year the group came in shackled. And I was really not ready because I did not know that anything like that was going to be taking place. And so I watched the group of people who I did not really know at the time, didn't know well, let me say it that way. Mama Free, Brother Iman, all these people come in shackled in white. And I'm sitting there and I remember feeling some of the same feelings that I would have in church. And, you know, coming to the Maafa brought so many things full circle for me, because I went through a period where, you know, I was heavily involved in the church. I was a youth minister. I was preaching all the time. Even though I did not believe a lot of the things that I was preaching, and even though I did not agree with a lot of the things that I was preaching, I still felt like I had to do it out of obligation because that's how I was raised. And so I went through a period where I was very angry because as an adult, I'm like, why did I waste my time and my life? But coming to the Maafa helped me understand that none of that time was wasted. I had to go to seminary. I had to be involved in the church, because had I not had all of those experiences, I would never have gone to Africa. Had I not had all those experiences, I would never have met Mama Adia, Baba Kendu, any of you all on the call. And so 6 years ago, sitting in that space, it was like Art 180. I can't remember the name of the building, but I had never even been there before. But I remember sitting there like, oh, this is what I have been waiting for. This is what my family needs. Akbar wasn't 2 years old yet. And it's crazy because just yesterday, Mama Vanessa posted a memory of me holding Akbar at the first Akom we had ever been to. And even being at the Akom that Sunday, I remember saying, oh my gosh, this reminds me so much of what we experienced in church without understanding what we were experiencing. We were just doing it, and even though I think it's beautiful because spirit is spirit. And no matter what the oppressors did to destroy our spirit and destroy our connection to Africa, we were able to bring it and carry it on through many aspects of our lives. And the Black church was one of those aspects. And so being at the MaafaKebuka helped me understand that my life and my time and my money in school was not wasted, but it was very purposeful. And it led me to where we are today, even to see Akbar and to hear him sing the songs that he sings, and to see my 2-year-old child who doesn't have to relearn, doesn't have to catch up as an adult, but who is learning now. I feel like, the healing is taking place, and we have so much more to do in my family line. But I'm just grateful for the space. I'm grateful that, I'm grateful for the empowerment, for so many years we lived with the grief and the mourning and the pain and the suffering of our ancestors. But to be in a space to feel empowered and to know that, yeah, many of our ancestors suffered, but there were also those who resisted, and those who fought, and those who overcame, and those who prospered, and so I feel such a wholeness and so much healing being in this space with you all. And I'm grateful, and my family is grateful. And, the things that my children learn, it's amazing to me. I'm like, how do y'all even know that? Some words they say in tree, I'm like, what in the world? They listen, they're paying attention, and they're following our example, not just listening to what mommy and daddy is saying, but they look forward. Like Akbar, every time we pass Brook Road, Akbar says, are we going to the outdoor Akom today? And I'm like, dude, no, we're not going. We don't have an Akom every week. But he looks forward, and even though he's playing during the Akom, he's still paying attention, and he knows that his friends are there. And so it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm grateful. I really am grateful. And I thank you all for the time, the energy, and the space that has been put into this healing for our families collectively and individually. So Madase.
Genasida. Madase Nananon.
Hello, everyone. This is Ben.
Greetings, brother.
I don't know quite what to say. I mean, I've been dibbling and dabbling with this stuff for years, and I just feel blessed to be a part of this AbusuaPa. And I've been pretty clear about my intentions, about my understanding my spirituality for a while. I've come to grips and understanding, and like the sister said, about appreciating my upbringing. I always joke to say I was raised by the original saint, by one of the original saints. My mother always had me with her on communion Sundays, helping her prepare for the communion. It seemed like it was every Sunday, and if it wasn't her Sunday, she was taking somebody else's place. So I have ministers in my family, and but I really do appreciate my upbringing.
There you go, brother. Take your time, brother.
And it's just, for me, it's just time. It's just time to it's just time to put things in motion, and you know, there's no more excuse. Like I said, I'm just glad to be a part of this.
Mo.
Ms. Houcho, can I share something real quick? So
Go ahead.
Along with what Baba Ben and Mama Indy were saying, there was a point at the Kuru. I don't remember what time. I don't know what time of year it was, but that understanding of our ancestors and our families carrying it forward, regardless of what the traditions that have been put upon us. I was talking to my ancestors and to Aunt Petey in particular, and the statement that was made to me was, "We hid you there." You know, so it's like you think about all the places that we've come through, even as Bobby Ron spoke to Islam and all those things, all those traditions that we come through, where that thread, where our ancestors are consistently feeding us through there. And the message for me was, we hid you in there so that you could get to where you need to get.
Right.
So, you know, that helped me. I wanted to share that.
And I want to just share about thinking about everything that everyone has said. With my mom, she's a reverend, my brother's ordained. And so she went from on the phone telling people, I don't know what it is that she does and blah, 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 to now, you know, we're going to work on a project together, because she says to me, and when you come speak to my group, you need to tell them about that ancestor stuff. That's just what she called it.
Right.
That ancestor stuff. You got to bring that ancestor stuff because it's good. And so I just think about just how what we do, even when we feel like we are so isolated at times, you know, just living and working, like they say, you know, show and prove how our family is looking. And now my mom is like, okay, we're going to do this channel together. We're going to help and we're going to heal people. And so it's just the work just resonates, even when we don't feel like it's touching us, it's touching someone. So this is just a very powerful space to be in and be a part of.
More.
Jumbo family. I'm gonna be quick. This is Tyron Glover. I'm kin with Baba Kendu. I'm just gonna be short. With the permission of the elders, I like to speak. I just like to say, what the MaafaKebuka has done for me was not only provide a space of awakening and consciousness where it may have not been before, but also just ability for me to ability for me to have a support system of people who not only think differently, but are open to the open to telling the truths and the real of what it is, and not hiding behind any filter or anything that's more or less holding back the natural Africanity of us all. And I feel like where, like I said, we've all had the same upbringing of not necessarily being not necessarily having this when we were born, but are able to necessarily like lend and depend on other people to, you know what I'm saying, help us upbringing. And that's what I'm most thankful for. Just that space that was provided for me to, be able to share something in the most crucial time of my life, raising my son and being able to have like a basis of, this of an identity for myself. And that's why.
Right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. There's some powerful testimonies.
Sure.
And I think we can probably get into the last bullet. Then we'll close out with talking about some future implications. It's talking about just the ancestor healing. Noah did really opened the door up for us with some specific instances. And I just want to talk about just just briefly about my own work dealing with ancestors. They've been to my mother, and Nora Reggie, y'all met my mother before she passed, didn't you? All right. I lived at my grandparents' house for my mom for about 13, 14 years. And y'all knew my grandmother, you knew Gaga. My grandfather, Benny, did you remember my grandfather? I don't know if you knew him or not. He passed in 98. In the household, Gaga did most of the child rearing. And my grandfather, he was the provider. My grandmother was a custodian at Manchester High School. It's a middle school now, but Manchester High School on Hall Street. My mother was an educator in Richmond Public Schools. And she was more like my sister, because Gaga did most of the other rearing. And my mother, if I can tell you, my mother had some very funny ways. She could be very interesting at times. And being inside of the house, my grandmother could shield me from some of my mom's issues. But at times, my mom, and she didn't intentionally mean to do it, but she hurt me a few times, just emotionally. There's different things she had to deal with when she was coming up in the house and then granted, because there was a lot of alcohol was going on. A lot of the men could be abusive and stuff, so she was around all of that stuff. And I don't think she ever really made any sense of it. So a lot of her issues were passed down on me with how she dealt with me. And then she lost my father passed. I don't think I was a year and a half of age, and he died. So she was still grieving. So making a long story short, she and I we had some very difficult times. We moved over here to Brook Road. Our relationship didn't really get any better. Because then my grandmother's on the south side, we were over here, so I'm over here on my own dealing with my mom. So I would go to my grandma's house on the weekends, and I would also stay over there during the summertime, even when I was at Union. So for a number of years, I had a lot of resentment. And I was very hurt when she passed in 96. But I was saying, well, I've been hurt. And I carried that for a number of years. And that impacted my relationships with people, with women, with girlfriends, and I hurt people. People can't really see it right now, but I've said and done some things I'm not proud of because I was hurting from all of that. Well, since we've done MaafaKebuka, I don't want to go into the long story. I've been able to make peace with that, and this last, I would say 3 to 4 months, I'm at a point now I've been able to release resentment, hurt, anger, and forgive my mother for whatever she said or did to me, because she meant well and she provided for me, and she set the foundation for me to get my education. I didn't have to drop a dime at Union, or I got my degree in social work. She provided for all of that. And I'm at a point now with the shrines, with the ancestors, as I said earlier, I can't blame her for anything she said or did based off of what was going on in her life. And it's taken me 53 years. Man, I tell you, it's taken me 53 years to get to this point. Like I said, I can walk forward now. I'm not mad, I'm not angry. I never thought I would get to this point, but if it wasn't for my growth and my development, us doing this ancestral work that we're doing, being married to who I'm married to, and she understands who I am, and then our relationships that we have developed, I probably wouldn't be here and have this same level of context that I have right now. So that's some of the real work I've been doing, and it hasn't been easy. But now that I finally have let that go, Now I can let go to other stuff from my broader family that happened that wasn't pleasant. And I can say right now on this good day that I don't blame them for anything that they said, did, or did not do. Madasi.
Madasi Butler, thank you for sharing that.
You're not Sada. And I never ever talked about this with anybody except for yeah. So for me to get to the point where I can express this with everybody else, you know, that's been, yeah, that's a lot of work, I still got more work to do. I still got some other wounds that came from some other ancestors. I gotta now resolve.
But you know, Bob, I think that you know, that speaks to all of us at different places where we are. You know, we all are the walking wounded, and all of those types of experiences that we've individually had, you know, as a collective, have impacted negatively and sometimes positively, but you know, more than not with this white supremacy, a lot of times it has adversely affected the way we interact with others, our willingness and our openness to interact with others. And so,
Right.
you know, I think that as a part of what Kendu said is that, you know, all of this has to be something that it is not just an intellectual exercise.
Right.
It has to be something that we incorporate in how we move in the world. So I think that if nothing else, you know, the MaafaKebuka has to infuse us to try and incorporate not just the ideology,
Right.
but the practice of healing ourselves and healing our families and moving forward so that we're able to touch and heal others.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Well said, Mama. That's well said. Well said. You know, just to keep it in perspective, so what Kwabena started off is kind of like the last thing. So the overall question, which Kwabena kind of spoke to, is just so that, you know, we kind of clear where we at and looking at the time. The question is, where are you with your personal family development and ancestor healing? And where would you like to see growth individually and or collectively together in the future? Where would you like to see growth in yourself with your ancestor healing, with your own developed individually and family? And where would you like to see us grow in the future? What would you like to see us do collectively? What do we need to incorporate that speaks to all the different modalities of healings that we alluded to? Self-healing, family healing, the ancestor healing, and, you know, as a AbusuaPa and as a community. All right?
MaafaKebuka.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, we had talked about this at the end of the year and at the beginning of the year, and had even started working towards meeting more regularly. But of course, with everything that's going on,
Right.
that has been put on hold. But just like I was saying earlier, to be in the space and communicating with you all is healing in itself. And so I think communicating more often outside of just the group me chats and the text message. I know a lot of us are sick of Zoom, but you know, we have to work with what we have right now. We gotta do what we have to do, you know. And so definitely, I love going up to DC for the Combs, but it is a stress and a challenge some weekends for us. Because of our work schedule. Sunday is our work day. So I would love for us to have our Combs here more than just once a year.
Right.
if possible. I mean, I understand everyone's schedule, but if we have the time to drive up to DC, maybe we can channel some of that time and energy to do some more things here, because it is very important. And one of the things that has been on my mind is, as we are healing our ancestors, we have to be working on our families too. You know, it's easy to ask for forgiveness and healing for those who are no longer here, but sometimes, and I think someone alluded to this and spoke about this, you know, with family members not talking, we have to be intentional about that.
Right.
Because people are leaving this realm quickly.
Right.
I mean, you know, you all know that my father was in the hospital for 10 days, and that was very challenging. But now we have Mama Free's father. He was admitted in the hospital yesterday. Sister
Oh,
Marisa,
wow.
I don't know if you all know Sister Marisa, but she has been caring for her father since her mother passed 2 years ago. Her father was admitted into the hospital on yesterday. And so the work needs to be done, not just for our ancestors, but for those of our elders and family members who are still here.
Right.
And we really have to learn how to forgive people, like Baba was saying. You know, I'm a Capricorn, and so I have a thing about forgiveness. I can hold a grudge till the very end, but you know, the ancestors have been getting on me about that. Like, how can you come and ask us for anything, and you can't even talk to the person that hurt you 10 years ago? You know, so you know, just being cognizant and mindful of that. But being more intentional about meeting. I think Baba Kendu has been getting on us and saying that for months and months, but we really need to take it seriously, and we need to do a better job of doing those things.
Right.
For the healing of our community.
That's powerful.
Ashe. I just want to add to everyone, thank you all for sharing your stories, and I think every year and every time we come together, we learn more and more about each other. And that's the beautiful part about it. And if we can learn about each other and we're not even be blood, then we can do the same in our own families. I just know since Mama Noah started talking, actually before then, when my Sister Kimmy started talking, like the ancestors are really definitely on this call with us. I just want to reiterate that, because if I get chills one more time, and it's hot outside right now, and I'm working out, but down to my bones. So that intentionality, I know I can say that for me, you guys have, you all in different ways. I can see how we're interconnected based off of our stories and our fields of work and just experiences in general. But definitely, you know, y'all with the children, like, it's just seeing the better and the most beautiful parts of you guys, and that hope and that faith that I know that the desires of my heart and my ancestors are real and I can attain them. So I just want to say Madasi and Madupe to each and every one of you guys for sharing your lives with me. And your journeys with me. Speaking of forgiveness and things like that, I've always kind of been a person that was in my family that was the neutral ground, the neutral zone, where I'm the person that is like the peacemaker, or that even if something was going on, whether it was with my mom, my brother, my sister, or cousins, or even far-fetched, like, been the one that can always still communicate with everyone. And at one point in time, I kind of fell back from that, and I needed other people in my family to step up. And I found out that when I did that and allowed people to just be who they are, but still implant the seeds of positivity regardless, like, I can listen to you vent, but I can still stay neutral in my comments and giving a different perspective, because that's something that is unique to me being a Libra. Like, I can see each side and several different sides that others may not see. And I found that while I might hold this accountability in the way everybody in my family does, to a certain extent, the responsibility that was all instilled in us. And they are stepping up. You know, the cousins the last generation kind of broke everything down once, you know, the matriarch and patriarch passed. But as I just told my cousins, like, we're old enough now. I told my great aunt, we're old enough. He hung the horn at you. We're old enough and we're well equipped enough to keep this going. You know, it's no point for us to have children. I don't even know your children's names, you know. I don't know who is who. And I got a great aunt to tell me all the time, that's how your cousin got with your other cousin, because people are not talking and telling you who is who. So now we got a whole line of cousins that are, well, a few cousins, and you could tell, you know, we always known that something was not necessarily right, but we didn't know that there was two cousins that brought them into this world. So these crucial conversations that we have with another, something that Baba Wakesa and Mama Freya say all the time, those are the ones that what we do with each other amongst the collective and amongst the AbusuaPa, we got to do the same thing within our own families. We have to. There's no other way. And as you were saying, those, I keep saying crucial conversations because I'm in Zoom meeting mode, business mode, but those conversations that need to be had, because time is too, there is no such thing as time, and it's clearly this time and day and age that we're in right now is showing us we don't have to tomorrow. It's now.
I think for our family and what everyone else is saying, connections and practicality have been the two things that we're focusing on with healing our ancestors. And I say connections, as my husband talks about all the time, that, you know, since his mom passed, and this is well over 20, 30 something years, there's been no more family reunions. It's been, and so cousins that he's grown up with, he doesn't know. And so just, we've been talking about, you know, how everybody's so busy, and then you have the weddings and the funerals type connections, and we need to change that. So I think even when we talk about ourselves and we talk about our families, the connection piece is so real. Like, I started going through my phone and calling people, and we hadn't talked in over a decade. And so, and this is like extended family. So I think just more time to make connections would be great. And then also, you know, practicality. You know, I make sure, like, when we do stuff with the ancestor table, you know, I know so-and-so used to like this. That might not have been as healthy, so I'm gonna swap it with this, but I'm still giving you something that you like. And then, you know, with my children, baking a cake for my grandma. And then, I don't know, Baba Kendall, y'all came to the thing we had for my grandmother, right? You know, just little things like that where, yeah, we made my grandma's favorite dish and we just talked about the memory. And so my uncles, they had not been to anything like that and they loved it. So we talked about doing that more for my children's grandma, and just practical things. I think a lot of times people are so daunted with the task of the spirituality is this big festival, and you have to have all of these priests and all it is. And it's not that. What I appreciate is the fact that, you know, as far as healing, you could take a blowing bath, you know, imagine yourself sitting on your mama's lap, telling her everything you want to tell her. Imagine your mama sitting on your lap and she's telling you everything about your, everything that was on that she carried on her chest. You know, just, we have so many practical things that we can do for healing and for just spirituality piece that I think that is our family goal. You know, we have decided that everything we live, love, work is going to be about elevation, and it's going to be about uplifting the community, people in our circle, and the practicality piece. We have made that decision. I'm not going back to the school. I know it'll be worked out, but that is our family's goal. And I think, and you know, with this particular AbusuaPa, we just need the connection more often to see our personal energies and how everyone has a piece of this healing puzzle that we can connect, and then it will radiate out. So my ultimate goal, I know as a family, will be to go back and do those rites for my ancestors who died of any kind of illness or disease so that their spirit can rest well. I want to go back and eventually do the rites for all of them, have that reading done, do the Ebal so that they can rest well, and we don't have to be scared to call their name because they have been empowered. And we did that on this side to go back and fix that. So that's kind of my long-term goal. But I think for us, connection and practicality, if we have those two pieces, then everyone else, it'll radiate and generate outwards, and we can just emulsify this healing process.
Jumbo, this is Mama Noah. So, you know, as Baba and I were talking, some of the things on a personal level, you know, for me, I know that I'm a person that shuts down. You know, I'm not, you know, very open, even though I'm very talkative when I'm in forums like this. But I'm really not on a personal, real level, very, very as open as I'd like to be. So that's a personal goal for me. I know many times y'all would, you know, just pull me just to come out, you know, no, come on. When you get here, I always enjoy myself. But that has always been an ongoing challenge for me, opening up myself and, you know, just kind of, you know, trusting. And so that is a challenge. And that's one that, you know, I'm, you know, just moving forward on trying to, you know, work on. In terms of our family, this actually, every situation that happens is, you know, something that can be turned into something positive. And so this opportunity for us to be together as a family has just really been phenomenal. And, you know, we were just kind of, you know, not really looking at it as the opportunity that it is. So what we've done now, and these are our children asking, you know, the Baba, you know, has the presentation that he does about the worldview. And our children have been asking, our two oldest daughters, not the sons, you know, but we're going to drag them in there anyhow. They, you know, they're going to be there. But our two oldest daughters. And so we are planning to, just as he presented for others, you know, we have to turn all that into our homes. And see, we're in a different position that you guys are in that we have adult children, some of you all, and we have adult children. So, you know, our conversation has always been, and my dilemma has always been, you know, okay, we out here doing this, but this inside is happening, you know, so now we're out here doing that, but equally as important, we have to be in here doing this. So, you know, we are going to try and put into place, and we have yet to have our first one, but we're planning that, to start those types of, just like we do outside, have those types of talks about what intentionality, those talks about what is the African frame of reference, what is the African worldview, you know, how does white supremacy impact us, even though they've heard it. Like I remember my oldest daughter, all y'all probably know Kamari, she had told me once, she was like, Mommy, we already know. Remember, you know, we went to Watoto, remember, you know, and that's not it. It's just that's information, you know, and we have to kind of sort through information and how it translates into your own personal development and practices. And so I think that's where I see, you know, some of the work, you know, of AbusuaPa going for the adult children, you know, some kind of way hooking them into this process, because to some degree, I think that because they have been in it since they have been children, and when they were children, they were doing all the same thing. They were in the AbusuaPa and Kobia. They were doing, singing the songs. They were doing all of it, you know, ringing the bell, doing like they were doing all of that. But I think that the real issue that I see that's sometimes overwhelming for me is the magnitude of white supremacy and how they don't care about us. We done. You see, they're looking at our children and the impacting our children. That's what they're going for. So when your child sits up and tells you that you're prejudiced because you're saying that, you know, someone is, you know, the gayness or whatever else, you know, these aberration, these mutant and you know, forms of living, you know, and you say something about it and they say that, you know, you're just being prejudiced. What? You know, and so it's almost like, did you grow up in my house? Yes, they did. You know, so that's the piece that I think that I'd like to see, you know, and I love everything that has gone. I just think it's so important. It was so beautiful, and it's always so impactful to see the children, you know, the way that, you know, we've done it, you know, the last few times. That's just, to me, has always touched a space in me to see the children, you know, reenacting the ancestors and their plights. But I think that what I like to see is, I would like to see that more of our young adults, those of us who have those adult children, to have them, you know, either, I know that there's a track for the teens and all of that, and we just kind of skip over the young adults, that they're with us, they're at the adult stage, but really, in a lot of ways, they're really not, you know. So I would like to see something with regard to every challenge we face developmentally as humans, as a people, every level, that they're addressed, every level, the level of the sisters that need to be wed, the level of the brothers who need to, you know, hey, it's time, brother, you know, you need to find somebody, we need to arrange this for you, or what, you know, at every level. I think we got to speak to it. The young mothers who just had their children, you know, how does the AbusuaPa, what is the norm for providing for that family? You know, what's the norm for support for that family? You know, and I know this is to come, and this is not a criticism in any way. It's just, as you said, Baba Kendu, you know, what are some things that, you know, we want to see, you know, moving forward? And I think that, you know, those are some of the things that, you know, I was just came, you know.
Oh, you touched me, Mama. You touched me. You touched me just now. You touched me. I wasn't going to say nothing, but you touched me. If y'all would give me a good. Am I talking? Is this
yes,
on?
Yes, you are.
Oh, somebody's coming in. Ursula keep falling out. I think that was well said, Noah. You know, all right, I'm gonna get right to it. Give me, man, I might need 15 minutes. I don't know, but you know, I want to go back to those strategies of intervention and prevention. And then I want to share with you all what the brother's been doing and talking about. Nana Kobe Cambone, I like to call him Nana now. He's been gone for a year now, so he's Nana now, all right? I was watching the African personality lecture he done, and I've probably seen that thing about 3-4 times. And I remember, you know, like I said, studying his work. And when I assess what my family is doing, you know, and how we can get better at what we at our re-Africanization, at our family development, I think, no, it's like, yeah, what are we doing? And what can we do better? So as I look, I said, okay, so he said, one of the first things is understand when somebody is calling your name, Kenny Thomas, all the time, you are adding fuel to that energy that indoctrinated you and that gave you that slave name. So one thing he said, we gotta go by an African name. We gotta be called an African. We gotta have an African name. The second thing he said, we gotta have a Maafa rights. We doing that, MaafaKebuka. So we like, good, check one, check two, that's good, right? They talk about the having these ritual calendar things. So I'm like, check, we do Umoja Karamu, we do Kwanzaa, we do the Inyansa, we do Black Marriage Conference, we do MaafaKebuka, we get together for birthday. We got these rituals that we do that are calendar where the children say, hey, you know, this time of the month coming up, we know we'll get ready to happen, right? Check. So I feel like we good. We on a good road, we doing that. The two challenges is the African language and the building of the sacred space. So we come together, we having this dialogue, right? But we are forging and perpetuating this European consciousness by using this language. And based on what I got from what Nana Cambone was saying, how beautiful it would be that when we are in our own space, we're not using the European tongue. You know, maybe not to use Mexicans and not Soviet as an example, because they speak their colonizers' tongue too. But when they're together, they speak Spanish, right? When Koreans live here in America, they're not speaking English at home, they speaking Korean, you know? And when they're having their little sacred cultural things, like the Gujarat folks from India, when they're here and they got their temples, they're not speaking English. So this is a thing that we are missing. And he's basically suggesting that we need to work harder to adopt an African language. He said, we don't care what it is until the leaders and the scholars can say, hey, we all gonna speak Swahili or whatever. But since we practice the Khan, speaking Tree makes sense to us, right? So in our house, we should be speaking Tree. But how beautiful and strong of a statement and expression would it be if when we got together for Kwanzaa, and we worrying about the white lady coming in with the dog and whatever. But what if every utterance that came out of everybody's mouth that presented, that sung or whatever was the African language, and white folks don't know what the hell we talking about? How strong would that be? And that's a maybe far-fetched, but I think we got to aim for something.
I agree.
So we're talking about, well, we can't impact the world, but first we have to start with us. We got to start with our house. We have to start with us that's on this call. And then it goes outward to the community. That's in my family, my wife and I, that's our family mission statement. Start with us, then go out, right? Lastly, on the fifth one is building a sacred space. We gotta have a place that we can go and not worry about who's listening, how much time we got. We gotta get out of here because, you know, oh, we only rented it for 4 hours. We gotta pay an additional cost for this. We have to establish sacred space. This is what Nana Campbell was talking about. This is what Marim Ani was talking about when they were building with Baba Ajay and Nana Akuya. That's why they had to establish Nation House. They had to establish something. And what makes Ankobia successful is Nation House. That's why they're able to exist 40 plus years, have 30 years of rites of passage, which takes me to this. Nana Akuya said, we got young adults. We concerned with the children, the little ones. We concerned with the marriages. Yes, that's vital. But when they grow up, you're off on your own. That is very American. That is very European. They're like, you don't do your own thing, right? So the men have been gathering, talking about rites of passage for boys. And one of the things the Baba Kweku said that, so one of our homework assignments was, you know, to look at other rights or whatever. So I talked to Baba Kokai out of Tallahassee, and I talked to a brother Tahaka out of Baltimore, and I talked to Baba Atiba, one of the elders of Ankobia. And it was a lengthy interview. I asked them a lot of questions, wrote down, took a lot of notes. But the one thing they all said is that in order for their rights to be successful, their AbusuaPa had to be strong. And the AbusuaPa has to involve the entire family. The little ones, the adult children. Mama know, yeah, we got adult children. So there's something missing in those adult children that I feel like, well, you know, when I was there, you know, something, maybe we ain't doing something right. So maybe we need to get together more, be together more, strengthen this AbusuaPa. And I think once the AbusuaPa is strong, it goes out. It goes out, right? Because our children got to marry somebody. They ain't gonna marry no cousins, right? They marry no cousins, right? So it has to start here and go out. And that's the one thing that they talked about. So how do you make the AbusuaPa strong? Baba Kwame said we got to get on the same page about some stuff. We have to have the same language, meaning when we use these terms, are we thinking the same thing? When we read this passage in the Sankofa movement, do we understand that the same way, right? Because we're not studying just to be studying, we're studying to figure out how to implement that information into our day-to-day life so we're not living that day-to-day European life in black skin, right? The AbusuaPa, we have to figure out a way to make that strong. You know, we had my family, we had Boggle night the other night. You know, we said, all right, we practice social distancing, but we should be practicing physical distancing, not social distancing. So we had Boggle night on Zoom, right? That was hilarious, right? There was a couple of Sundays that my father's side of the family, all his brothers, all his sisters, and the children of those brothers and sisters and the children of, and I realized I got a cousin Donald, that's my father's age. We all on Zoom. It was like a whole bunch of little squares on this thing. And Saeed was like, well, who is that? Who is that? And India was like, I don't know all these folks. And we're like, yeah, that's the Baltimore crew. So we basically had a family reunion on Zoom. And I didn't know my cousin Donald had 5 daughters. Like, Donald, you got 5 daughters? I mean, I've known you all these years and had no clue that you got all these daughters, therefore you got all these grandchildren, then you got all these great-grandchildren. It's crazy. So, you know, I think everybody kind of spoke to this. We have to have strong families, the interaction that we have with each other, we also have to have with our blood lineage, you know. But if we're going to do this work as a vanguard, we have to be intentional about studying and playing together. We have to study together and we have to play together and we have to work together, right? So what I would like to see is us working toward nailing those 5 strategies of intervention and prevention within our individual selves, our family selves, and the AbusuaPa. It would be beautiful if we can get together and, you know, we just start somewhere, but whether we say, hey, we give ourselves a 5-year goal, in 5 years, we speak, when we get together, we ain't speaking no English. That would be beautiful. How strong of a statement would that be to our children? So, and I'm gonna wrap it up with this. To speak to Nana Akua's point, when we talking about doing the rites of passage, me and Kwame being we say, man, we 50 plus. Some of us heading 60 plus going in, right? We're not going to be able to keep up with these young 13, 14, 15-year-old boys. And we also have to start something, so we ask the mamas, what direction y'all gonna go, right? Because in order to facilitate this rites of passage for these young boys or young girls, the young boys and young girls identify with us as parents. There has to be somebody in the middle that they can really identify with, and those usually are people in their 20s and their early 30s, right? Because I remember being young, I used to look at that guy that was 19, 20, 21, like, yeah, man, you know, trying to roll with him, I'm trying to be like him, and that's how we all do. So we have to develop those in our circles who are in their 20s. Me and Ty talk about this all the time. Ty, I finally talked to James yesterday. I had a long talk with James, right?
Mo.
We have to make warriors of the young folks, the young adults, so that they can continue this on, because our bodies are not going to always be what it is. And we have to be able to hand over the torch. And when we talk about rites of passage into what? I would like to see the AbusuaPa to be this society, this secret society, this maroon society that our young adults and our children growing up can't wait to take the torch and continue. They want to perpetuate it. They want to continue it. We have to make it sexy for them. We have to make it fun for them. We have to make it amusing for them, engaging, so that they want it. The one thing that—
meet them at their level.
And they gotta want it for their level. So that's why I said we have to hand it over to it, because they're gonna have new ideas. Martin Luther King was young. He was 26 years old when he led that march. We have to be able to say, here, we have faith, we to put the seeds in you, but we have to be intentional and strategic about how we do it. Kobe said we need an adult leadership training retreat. Good. But again, I don't live in DC, and I will end it with this. When we was up there with the Carradine said, Baba Kendu, you got a rights in Richmond? And I was like, no. He said, well, why you up here with us? We from DC and Maryland area, to kind of speak to Mama Indy's point. And I said, well, you know, I don't have no rights in Richmond. He said, oh, well, you know, I know Tallahassee got it right. They come up there with their boys, Atlanta come up with their boys, Philly come down with their boys. I just assumed, you know, y'all had it rights in Richmond, right? So I feel like but my grandmother's coming to me, and these situations happening with young people. I would love to see Akbar, Mansa, Wosir, Molly, all them little dudes going through rights together because they from here. They grew up here. In DC, I think the difference is Allende, Kofi, Kwaku, and all, they from down here, so they might have went the rights up there, but Kofi told me he don't really have a relationship with his line. The point of a manhood and womanhood society is that you develop ASATs that's orientated on the same ideology so that they hold themselves accountable. So they don't need Mama Noah telling her daughter, you need to buckle down now. You get married and stop playing around. Their peers would be on their case. That's African. So we're talking about re-Africanizing. That's African. We need to develop young folks so that their old peers hold them accountable. And that's going to take work and intentionality. That's what I like to see.
Mo.
Well done.
That was powerful, brother.
Yeah.
Like you put it all together.
Yeah, you did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, that pretty much summarized everything.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll add one thing that I know I'll be able to, take control over. I do envision us having the Combs here. They'll probably be more ancestral based though. And as soon as I get that masquerade outfit made, we'll be moving forward with that, as soon as possible once I get the outfit made up. And so that'll be something we'll be able to take care of in the very near future. And then we'll discuss, when, time, how long it will last, and all that. So we'll be on that one probably by the end of the summer.
Bob, I would like to let me mention to everybody as well. I forgot. MaafaKebuka reminded me, and I try to do as much as I can. We went through an African name ritual. Baba Ben ain't really Baba Ben, and I ain't Kendu. We have shrine names, right? And we went through a very powerful ritual together. And that MaafaKebuka led us, and it was informed by the shrines. So, in our space, I'm Kwesi Bonsu.
Okay.
All right. And Baba Ben can introduce himself.
Well, Baba, I don't know my name. I don't quite remember my name. That's one of the things I need to work on. And as you see, at 53 years of age, and I've been dealing with this, and I've never gone by any African name, really. At times I've been called Okadiji. My birth name is Kwame. My birthday, but I have never gone through. But one of the things and goals that I want to go deal with my family is deal with the practical things of how I can have patience and take time to do my daily rituals, and just take time for myself and my family to just be consistent in what I need to do in taking care of myself and lead my family. One good thing that's happened since COVID is my being able just to stop and make excuses just to do certain things that are important to me and to my family. Just in taking the time to really think about my ancestral shrine and putting certain things out there. Just like I looked at my grandmother's album, I used to listen to her with her Mom's Snavely. Put an album out. And I just more and more things that I think that come to me and how I need to connect with them. And just like I said, just simply to sit down and just take the time to be able to hear them. A lot of time when you're on this work schedule, this steady work schedule, is dealing with life, dealing with your children, dealing with whatever. You make excuses about why you don't have time to do certain things. And part of my, part of my hang up is my personality. I don't never want to be able to think that people to think that I'm just about bells and whistles and putting on a show. I want them to be able to feel and see me, see me as being authentic. And at times it's held me back because it's needed for me to show people, exactly where I am in my thoughts sometimes. So I think about, I got a 20-year-old son and an 18-year-old son, and I don't want them to stray too far away. And like I told the Bobbers every time we talk about the rites of passage, I said my sons did not go through a rites of passage. So I need them to somehow connect them into the AbusuaPa, the men. And I haven't gone through a rites of passage. So it's just the thing that I just need to just to continue slowly but steadily working on those small things, building relationships within this society. So everybody start to know everybody's story and everybody understand our story, because that's a very current theme with me, is that even when I'm dealing with people in my work life everywhere, if you understand people's stories, then you can understand where they're going and where they need to go. If you don't have necessarily sympathy, but empathy for these stories, then there's going to be a problem. And so I want to learn y'all's stories. I want to understand. I want you to learn my story so that you can help me in my path. That's all I got to say.
Bob Quavin, anything, anybody got anything else? I know it's after 1, I think.
112.
Is it 12 something?
112.
Oh, 112.
113.
112, where the players dwell, anyway. Anything, Bob, so that you want to take us out with, or is there something?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very powerful discussions we had today. Very personal, and got to find some things out about some people that I didn't know before, and you're seeing where everybody is. So I think this was definitely needed. We've done a lot of work. We have a lot more work to do to make AbusuaPa even stronger and better. So that was a very powerful presentation you did, Baba Kendu, or Baba Quasi. I say Baba Quasi Bonsu, very powerful. So I think that let's take these things away, and again, be intentional about us meeting. Once this thing blows over, that we can do those monthly meetings again where we get together, break bread. I really enjoyed the time we got at Ursulla's house, and we had a blast. Do that monthly. We'll look at doing the combs. We'll look at probably having another planning meeting and talk about how we can deal with the young folk 'Cause I got challenged as well with my boys, making sure they're going to be on board with the stuff as well. So let's set some more meeting times up. Any ideas that people have, let's start talking amongst each other. Write a list. Let's put it out there what we need to do, prioritize them. We got time right now to talk about a whole lot of stuff. So let's start making some moves and move this thing forward.
But anybody know what your situation is? I know things are changing. So for me at work, everybody comes back to work on Monday. So I don't know how, just because the government is kind of reopening up, we still have to be smart. And because we don't really know where this pandemic is going. It's not like the numbers are getting better. Do we trust the numbers? I don't know. But what is everybody's summer or next few months looking like? Or what do you expect? Do we see that we'll be able to get into the same space? What are your feelings about the next few months?
Well, my thinking is that we should move, cautiously going forward. Even though everything is opening, people are going back. My situation, I mean, I can still maintain what's been going on for my situation. I think Mama Noah and I, we kind of like, probably anybody in the school system probably working at they can be as neutral or still hunker in place and be more cautious than people who are being called back, and have to be around other people. But I think we might want to think about is being as cautious as we can. We still may be able to, kind of get a gathering together, but being cautious and focus on the principles of what
the recommendation.
Yeah, just making sure that we are protecting ourselves and trying to use all the precautions if we just happen to come in the same space, but we can think through that, plan how we think we could do something like that. But for the rest of the summer, I'm pretty, committed to staying being as cautious as I can until I'm clear about what's going on going forward.
Yeah, we're not going back to school for this year, and so I got plenty of time. I wouldn't mind breaking bread at some point within this next month. I probably feel comfortable being outside. We could do maybe like a little cookout or something like that where we could maintain space. And I saw this thing on TV saying the virus does much more damage in a closed-in environment in a room or whatever else as opposed to being outside where you getting fresh air, that type of thing. And so I think we probably can maybe talk about doing like a little cookout or a little fish fry or something like that the next month or so. And because things are changing, so let's talk about that so we can get in that little personal space and we can just break bread. Everybody feels comfortable. And then if you ain't feeling good or you wake up with a headache, then you need to take yourself out of the equation. You coughing. If you got the hiccups, don't come this way.
Yeah. But yeah, we can bring all those things under planning as our meeting, as we go through meetings and stuff like that. We can think through them and move forward.
We are just more FYI. So we've been having tree classes for the last 7 weeks. This is my second time taking these classes. I had to kind of start again. I started again for one reason. I needed a refresher. So I figured since I was getting a refresher, I'd bring some, people along. And I think I put it out there to text, and Ursula has been coming, and Indy and I, this is our second time doing it together, Cujo. And so we
Are they online, Baba?
Yes, we do it through Zoom.
Oh, okay.
And it's very interpersonal. He takes his time. What I like about Kwame is that he gives you the etymology and the history behind the word. Like, there's a reason why we say this, right?
Yes.
And it's funny how it translates to English, but Warfremo, I think how he said it's like when you greet a mama that's just had a baby, you congratulate her. It really means you have come back from the war. Because the challenge of a woman having a baby and the baby, sometimes they don't make it. So they said for the woman gives birth, she just came back from war. She have fought to bring new life into the thing. So really you saying, hey, congratulations, you won the war. I'm like, what? That's how you congratulate? So that's deep to me. It's kind of acknowledging mothers are warriors,
Ashe.
So it's just really deep to understand African language and just the historical context that these words were developed, So we do that every Wednesday at 5:00 p.m. And so this Wednesday would be our 8th session. So it's the last class of the second session. There are 4 4-week sessions. And so I took 2 sessions before, so I said, okay, I got to get to the 3rd session now because I'm ready to get deeper into the language. And I'm really looking to hope one day that we can sit around this house and just speak Tree and then start speaking English. At least when we don't have to, when we intermingle with the dominant society, yeah, but we should be free enough to say, when we at home, this is what we do. So that's our quest. The children pick it up faster than I do. We have monthly, we have 6-week family meetings that's based around the Kwesida. And I want to say thank you to Baba Kwabena, to Baba Kwao. This past Kwesida I want to share with y'all, man, it was powerful. Y'all know the woods in the back of my house? We was in the woods, right?
There you go.
And, I went out to the country, got a chicken. So that was the first time that, like, we did a bird, and it wasn't Baba Kwabena doing the bird, it was my wife, And, I went and got the bird. I went and got me a nice shot in the boy, And just that ritual, that practice, that activity it's like so healing. Because I'm thinking, whatever tension that might or might not have been there, you ain't got time for that.
Right.
Because this thing is so spiritually rewarding. I can imagine if we as families all did this work, in Ifa would be Abo, I think, something like that. Yeah. I mean, to do that work with your family. It's not a community thing, it's your family. We got our blue and white on, the children, they look forward to throwing the eggs and we reading the egg and just that's healing. That is healing in itself. I don't know. I can't speak for my wife. I don't know. You want to say something? I was on cloud 9 the whole 2-3 days after that, It was powerful to me, It's always powerful when we do the Yansa, but I was like, this is another layer because it's right here.
Right. You taking charge of it.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah, so that was powerful to me. And my wife has taken her position as they'll come for the family, and she leads us through this. And I'm learning something new every day, man. Every day. It's a beautiful thing, man. And I'm very proud of her to see her take that mantle. You know, I'm proud of my wife for doing that, man.
That's all about, brother.
Yes. Yes,
That's
Bob.
all about.
Yeah, bro.
More.
I got it.
Let her give you.
Aw.
Yes, it is a beautiful thing. I did it both for my husband for the first time after his reading, and it is amazing to be able to
That's
practice
right.
and to get, yes, it was accepted. So it is really healing and amazing when you can do it for your family. Yes, to my spiritual sister, Fia. That's my girl.
More.
Monica.
Yep.
So based on listening to what everybody has said and then culminating that, when is our next meeting, AbusuaPa? Because one of the in what everyone's saying is we need to strengthen this with each other and continue to be.
We losing you, sister. We losing you.
Your
We losing you.
sis.
Yes.
Did anybody hear me?
No.
Oh, can you hear me clearly now?
Mm-hmm. To the next meeting time.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that we always do, we always kind of leave things lingering. And if we're going to be more intentional and solution-based in what we're talking about, can we establish when we would like our next AbusuaPa meeting, at least by Zoom, and then, like you said, Baba Kwabna, with the takeaways that we need to bring to the next meeting, what our norms would be.
Right.
I would really like for us to establish that, because it helps me to be able to know what to plan and what not to plan, and you know.
Right.
And as far as like Mama Noah and Baba Reggie said, I'm in, private day, but it's still run, by VDOE, and we just had a major meeting memo come out Friday twice after our meeting that we had in reference to, we're closed for the remainder of the school year. And some places are going to try to do that summer school and that rollout thing. And many people are thinking it's not the smartest move to make, which my scientific background is saying absolutely not. So I'm available, but I still do go into the office and things like that because we're a small school and we're not fully electronic and everything else. So I'm open and available, especially like our weekends. And even outside of just having a meeting, like it would be where we're discussing things, having a meeting where we're just be able to be us. And that's how we really gonna build this rapport and get to know each other and talk and strengthen the AbusuaPa.
Well, why don't we take a look at some dates and times right now, and this next week or two,
okay,
and see what's good, and then by that time we should know more about how things are opening up in each other's perspective area or whatever. But things are pretty much under Richmond, things on a little delay, and then maybe by the next time we meet, we can set a date for maybe a face-to-face gathering, if everybody agrees with that, maybe like in June, something like that, if things slowing down a little bit. How that sound?
Yo, I agree. Okay, so everybody get their calendars.
Yeah, get the calendar up.
Let's see. Let me see if I can share my screen.
For what? That's what we said. Oh, so are we talking about going back maybe to doing the first weekend in every month? The first.
Yeah, that'll be fine. With me, We'll see.
So right now we're
looking
trying to
at right now.
establish the next meeting.
I'm pretty much open.
And then,
Say it again, Ursula.
so what about coming together on the 30th for a meeting where we could just bring back our. That's a
Saturday.
Yes. Does Saturday works for everyone? Midday?
Yeah, I'm free.
Do that work for Mama Y'all? I know is that right still going on? Like, what's that? Because it feels like we miss Mama Y'all every time.
They still have sessions going on, but I had to find out whether or not they're meeting on that day. I don't think they have said what they're gonna do on that day, but I can find out. If she's not able to meet it, I just fill around what we're talking about.
Right. Are Sunday mornings more conducive? Like, are we less busy on Sundays?
No.
We're not less busy on Sundays. Are we more busy on Saturdays? I mean, what's the?
So for the first time in a long time, there is nothing on my calendar. So whenever y'all want to meet is great. This has been a decade. There's nothing on my calendar.
Yeah, I'm good on either day.
You mean Saturday?
I like the mid. Yeah, I like the mid one. Yeah.
Okay.
We're looking at Saturday the 30th or the 31st at this point. And Virginia's supposed to open back up on the 10th, so I guess we'll know by. So maybe we could do the next.
What are you talking about?
The 30th. The 30th
is a Saturday, and the 31st is a Sunday. Yes, for a Zoom meeting can do. Quasi, sorry.
You mean for this month? Meet again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep.
Saturdays are better for me. I don't, Sunday I'm normally doing paperwork.
What?
You don't like Saturday.
Sundays and Mondays.
Excuse me, what level?
Yeah, so let's just do the same time.
What level are we opening up?
You know what? I have a class on Sundays at 1. Yeah, Saturdays are better.
So what do we do the same time? Well, maybe
11 o'clock on the 30th.
Yep, 11 o'clock on the 30th.
11 on the 30th. Okay, that works.
10 o'clock.
All right.
No, not 10. Not 10.
No. Yeah, we're not going early.
Not 10, Bob.
Okay, 11.
You still trying to
get to sleep in.
You still in the bed, huh?
No, I'm running around behind those boys.
Yeah.
On Saturday. Okay, I'm putting it on the calendar.
Me too. Let me put it in there.
Sure.
Can you go ahead and do or Mama Adi, can you Zoom it and send it invitation? Ani. Well, no, that's not the right response. Hold on. Yeah, boo.
What did you say?
She said, yeah, boo. I was like, Ani.
So Yebo is Swahili.
Yeah, I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was like. That's not the right response.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Ani.
So, real quick, because this work never stops. This girl's hair has to come apart, so that's what it is. So I wanted to say, and so Mama know I'm gonna reach out, is because I'm not really interested in a Zoom meeting. If it's necessary, then the rest of Mamas let me know. I have heard the passion with which Hindu has been ignited when it comes to the young brothers, and I completely acknowledge it. I support it, and I talked to Kemi because that is not something that is well within my soul for me right now, but I do realize that is something that Kemi has been doing for a while, and it is sitting with me to support her. So, or for us to work together. And that was something that came to me at Yansa last year when it comes to rights and things for our children. So in the way of what, I don't know if it was Mama Noah, I don't know if it was Ursula, Indy, somebody, Quasi, somebody said the way for us to have strong rights, whether it be for nobility rights or young adults, whatever it is, for our AbusuaPa to be strong, is that we meet with the women. We've been for years. We've tried to do that. And so whatever time it is that would work, also because I realized, as Mommy has said to me, she's like, yeah, I don't want to talk about the 20 stuff, because she's done with that, and I dig it. But there are spaces where we do need to hear from each other, and I think about when we're at our affirmations, you know, the offset group, sometimes we have to pull them back to come help us with something. You know, they're doing whatever they're doing, and sometimes we need them in the Nzinga and the Asantuma groups to come back and help us move through something. And so that exchange is necessary. So although, like, you know, Kemi can jump in, we talked about this, I am not, the way that our training is set up, there's a 3-year baby toddling thing for all us brand new shrine workers. And so when it comes to rights for the girls, that's not even something I'm looking for until 2021 at the earliest. But the strengthening the sisters, strengthening the mamas in all our different stages is something that is very necessary, not just for me personally, but for us collectively. So that we do have, you know, this little one right here is, she's moving into a space where she's moving away from us. You know, she's moving into her tween spaces. And so even as we watch that, it's like there have to be some 20-year-olds who are ready to be like, Mama's not crazy. And
that's my baby.
You know, right. And to help me you know, I was there, but I'm not there now. So those kind of things, I know those things need to happen. So all that to say is, I'm going to send a message out to all the EIs, the ANOs, the mamas, and see what we can do, and to pull in Kamara, to pull in our young women, so that we can have those discussions and just be connected with each other. Like Baba, what's Baba Ben's name?
I forgot.
See, but like Baba said, we need to learn each other's stories. And so, you know, I know that's necessary. So I did want y'all to know that Kemi and I had talked. Kemi has already done some rights here in Richmond, but we, you know, in the spaces that we've both come through.
It can't be one person.
No, I got you. But even in the spaces that we've both come through, looking at those rights in the way of continuing, you know, the wisdom, the culture, and the traditions of the ancestors is something that we discuss. But it has to start with the women gathering. So, yeah.
I just want to say Madasi, Mama Noah, and Mama Adia for reiterating that, because I can honestly say I know for a fact that Kamara and I have been stating this, even in separate. We didn't even realize we were both saying the same thing until we both were like, whoa, within the last year. But over like the last 2 years, we've emphatically been saying this, even in DC, when we in circles. Here in Richmond, we've said it and reiterated, like, I mean, I'm not there, but I'm not there. And I just feel sometimes I don't want to feel like I'm alone or doing this by myself. And I don't want to feel like it's kind of disheartening sometimes. And I guess if it wasn't for the tenacity that I had intrinsically, then I probably would have went by the wayside and just been like, all right, well, you know, it don't work. You know, this isn't where, you know, I'm supposed to be. And, you know, while these my mamas and my sisters, they're not, you know, and I don't feel that way. But sometimes I do feel like there is this gap, and there's these unspoken norms that it's like, can we just get past that? And like, do y'all know who Ursula is? You know? Do y'all care to know who she is? Do you care to know where I'm trying to go or where I'm trying to be? You know, and while these expectations are there, like that middle, that age, like, and we're not getting younger.
Mm-hmm. It was not a crazy one. Like,
yeah, she was sounding like Roger Trout in the Zap towards the end of her statement.
I was trying to laugh.
You got to restate that, sister. Yeah, you sound like Computer Love.
More about
What was the part that y'all, what did y'all do here?
We heard you though, sister. We heard it's just the way that it sounded. You couldn't hear yourself, but the way it sounded to us was Roger Trout.
We live all these power lines down here.
That was funny.
So I look forward to the sisters and the mamas and IAs like us gaining together, because we are very, very strong and powerful. And that's a part, if our men are strengthening themselves and coming together, then we should be doing the same, because we all know what we mean.
Well said, Mudikasa. All right, y'all. Before somebody else, let's just, we get back together on the 30th, 11 o'clock. So once we shut this down, I'll be sending that out. I know I like to send it out as more like a calendar invitation, so you can put on your calendar.
Yep.
This was beautiful. I'm glad that Kwame said, "Hey, man, let's gather for MaafaKebuka anyway." So I'm looking forward to the masquerade that would be developed and strengthening us, man. Like I said, is we came here together for a reason. So let's keep it going, and I look forward to hearing what happened with the mamas and brothers. We getting back together on the 25th, and let's keep moving forward.
There we go.
All right, y'all. All right, family.
All right. Peace
Love
to
y'all.
everybody. Everybody have a good weekend.
Peace.
All
Thank you,
right.
Houdini.
Yeah, Beishia.
Yo.
Adabo.